Welcome to Capital Diversity and Inclusion Consultants Introductory Unit to Police Training. National Training Standards. What is required and what is not. Today, we look at training on the state level to give us a better insight to what officers are trained for in their state and an idea of how this training may not be all you expect. We will discuss this as a matter of both state and national policy. Let's look at some of the basic duties police officers are expected to perform. These include patrolling, whether by car, motorcycle, helicopter, horse, bicycle, or on foot. They direct traffic for special events, traffic signal malfunctions, traffic accidents. They issue citations. They apprehend criminals. They offer crowd control, including during demonstrations and protests. They transport prisoners, serve arrest warrants and subpoenas, testify in courts of law, respond to emergency calls, assist in processing crime scenes, and they write reports. All of these duties require a degree of expertise that only comes with education, field training, and experience above what an average high school graduate possesses. These skills are not automatic. Yet we routinely place inexperienced and undereducated persons in jobs that are stressful, dangerous, and have unexpected elements in them. We must create a national policy to set a minimum standard for all states to meet when training those in positions of armed authority. Let's take a look at some of the national standards for education or training requirements across law enforcement agencies. The following information comes from two different websites that offer information for all 50 states, as well as from the individual state governing body that determines those requirements. Both of these sites offer link to the individual state. This information applies only to entry-level requirements for state-level officers, such as state troopers, state police, and highway patrol. Other agencies within the state, such as county sheriff or municipal police, often have their own requirements, and those are not included here but may be found on the links provided. The first conclusion I found: there is no national standard. This graph shows 10 of the disciplines that are important for effective officers. They are use of force options simulation, racial profiling and diversity, high-risk stops, physical conditioning, self-defense, first aid, pursuit, emergency vehicle operations, firearms proficiency, and de-escalation training. Common sense should tell us that those in positions of armed authority should have the highest levels of education and training before they are put in charge of civilian lives. Remember that as voters, we have the power to elect people who will work toward a minimum national standard, one that includes ethics, transparency, and accountability for all its officers. We have all been raised learning that for laws to be just, they must be applied to all people equally. If justice is blind, then the laws must apply to those who make them and to those who enforce them as well. I chose 5 states with a wide range of cultures, populations, political tendencies, and geographies for a more in-depth comparison. I chose Alaska, shown in darker blue, because of its remoteness and sparse population. I chose California because of its geographic and cultural diversity and because it's one of the most liberal states overall. I chose Montana, shown in gray, to represent ranchers, farmers, large landowners with relatively small populations, and because it represents many similar states. Florida, shown in yellow, is densely populated and contains large populations of senior citizens and Cuban Americans. And Kentucky in light blue because it is home to Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, making it a Southern conservative stronghold. There are 14 disciplines listed here. If a bar is showing, the state trains their officers in that discipline. If no bar is showing, they do not. There are no bars in gray showing that officers are not required to have training in any of these factors in Montana. Alaska trains in 3 disciplines, Kentucky in 6, Florida in 8, and California in 12. However, this is misleading because physical agility, while not separate, is included with physical conditioning. Local police officers have a great responsibility to their communities. They are the primary first responders in times of crisis, crime, and confusion. We count on them to protect us, but we need to be questioning their ability to do so when they do not receive full and proper training. Hawaii, shown here, is the most extreme example of a state that has virtually no training requirements. This information comes directly from the Hawaii State Legislature, the governing body of the state's police. They say, Hawaii is the only state without state-level regulation of police. There is no minimum standard. No procedure for revoking certification for serious misconduct even existed prior to 2018. Due to numerous complaints regarding excessive use of force and off-duty fighting, legislatures added 2 provisions to remove an officer. Those are falsifying or omitting material information on the initial application, and their certification may be revoked for any felony conviction. I have put up the 6 basic requirements for Hawaii. I am particularly concerned by the last 3. Background checks that only look for domestic violence convictions. What about other convictions? What about other serious felonies? Reading and writing competency used to require an exam by all other states. In Hawaii, it only requires a 2-year work history that shows you can use English. And the most disturbing to me, there is no firearm proficiency requirement, only a legal right to carry, and that is based on age and criminal history. The variances we see in these few examples let us know that there is still much work to be done to bring equity to our police departments and to make sure that all officers are receiving the training needed for today's society. Minimum national standards are achievable, but we need to demand it from our representatives, and if they won't work towards it, we need to vote in new people who will listen and use critical thinking skills to promote a better and safer way of police interactions with the public. Thank you for staying with us for this introduction to police training. For more information on this or any of our other topics, please call Dawn Gagno at 916-912-3688, email at the address shown on screen, or visit our Facebook page. As always, thank you for your interest in social justice and in improving our communities.